And we're back. Welcome to my preview and predictions for Premier League Game Week 5. Before we get into it, I want to say another massive thank you for all the support you've given the channel this week. You guys have absolutely smashed it on the Carabao Cup and the 2 Europa League videos we have put out this week, and of course 2 La Liga videos this week as well. It's been an unbelievable week. You guys have been so good in terms of your views, your interactions, your comments, your likes. Absolutely massively appreciate it. And we get to go all over again next week with all 3 major European competitions coming for you next week. So before we start, as always, don't forget to drop a like on this video if you do enjoy all of my prediction series. Share it with a friend. Subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so don't miss out on any of the new videos we've got next week for you. Of course, if you want to gain access to even more from me, such as Bundesliga, Serie A, and Liga 1, all of those predictions are available for you right now over on the members only section of our community page. All you have to do is hit the join button at the bottom of your screen to get involved. Just like these wonderful people did last week, they now have access to the full complement of previews and predictions that I give on the channel every single week. So if you do want to gain extra access, hit that join button. As for this video though, we have got 10 Premier League fixtures once again, and I'm going to say it right at the top of the video as I always do. When there is a week like this, I do genuinely believe this is an incredibly tough week to call. I think there are 1 or 2 games where you could go, yeah, there is a strong favourite here, but I think probably 7 out of the 10 games here realistically could go either way, the way these sides have been playing. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. The opening game of the weekend sees Brentford host Manchester United, 17th versus 11th. It really hasn't been a great start for Brentford, certainly in terms of their league form. Only 4 points from their opening 5 games. They are now 4 matches without a win, excluding penalty shootouts. But to be fair to them, they are unbeaten so far at home this season. For Manchester United, they'll be looking to build off of their win over Chelsea last week. A massive 3 points for them, which has moved them up to 7 points from their opening 5 matches. But they are not 1 a game away from home so far this season. So a side unbeaten at home against a side without a win away. Good signs for Brentford coming into this one. In terms of the team news, there are no fresh injury concerns for Brentford. Manchester United are going to be without Casemiro after his stupid red card against Chelsea, where Manchester United were absolutely cruising. But there could be a return for Diogo Dalot for this match. Manchester United's record away at Brentford isn't particularly great either. 2 defeats and a draw in their last 3 seasons. But I do think the way Brentford has started and how Manchester United have performed on the pitch, not necessarily in terms of the results, I do think this is a really good opportunity for Manchester United to end that run. As a Manchester United fan, I fully expect and I say demand Manchester United win this game. But recent history in this fixture and the results so far for Manchester United this season do lead me to believe that the probably most likely result in this game is a draw. So I'm going to start with a 1-1 draw for Brentford and Manchester United. Speaking of poor records away from home, Brighton come into this game with Chelsea after scoring 0 points from their away games so far this season and after losing their last 3 visits to Stamford Bridge. That said, they did win 6-0 in the League Cup in midweek away from home at Championship side Barnsley. For Chelsea, they also won in midweek away from home. They beat Lincoln 2-1, but of course that was off the back of losing to both Manchester United and Bayern Munich last week. In terms of the team news coming into this one, Robert Sanchez can return to the Chelsea goal following his red card at Old Trafford. That is because he served his suspension in the League Cup match. Should red cards and yellow cards go over from competition to competition? Let me know down in the comment section below. It does seem a little bit ridiculous that the Chelsea guy can get sent off in a Premiership game, miss a League Cup game against lower league opposition, and then just come straight back in to the Premier League side. In terms of Brighton, they are going to have no fresh concerns coming into this. There is some doubt over De Kuyper, and of course in Chelsea's injury situation, there is Cole Palmer, who is once again set to miss at least a few weeks out, potentially even a month out with a recurrence of that groin injury. And Buenanotte cannot play against his parent club. So former Brighton man João Pedro is likely to drop back into that midfield slot with someone else going up front with all their whole host of attacking options. It really could be anyone. As we already mentioned, Chelsea have a strong home record against Brighton over the last few seasons. So I would expect that good run to continue here, especially given Brighton's poor start in the Premier League away from home. I do expect there to be goals though. and I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Chelsea. Next up in the 3 o'clock kickoffs is one of the biggest fixtures of the weekend. We have 5th place Crystal Palace taking on 1st place Liverpool. Arguably this is the biggest fixture of the weekend considering where these sides are placed in the table. For Crystal Palace, this is a completely unbeaten start to their season, which does of course include a victory over Liverpool in the Community Shield on the opening day of the season. They won away at West Ham last time out. For Liverpool, since the Community Shield, they have won all 7 matches in the League Cup and the Champions League, all incredibly by a 1-goal margin. So Liverpool still yet to get to their best, but it has been enough for them to win all but that opening game, which some people do consider a friendly match, it has to be said. In terms of the team news coming into this one, Ismail Sarr could make his return for Crystal Palace. It's touch and go whether or not he will be available, but no fresh injury concerns for them. And obviously Adam Wharton is now back and playing once again. For Liverpool, if you somehow manage to miss the news over the course of the midweek fixtures, Hugo Ekitike is going to be suspended for this match after taking his shirt off after scoring an open goal. So, well done, mate. That's going to get you suspended for this game against Crystal Palace. A game that, realistically, Liverpool could really, really struggle in. If only they did have a British record striker available that could play in the match instead. I don't think there is anyone that could fill that role. But we shall see. They also sadly did lose 18-year-old centre-back Leone to an ACL injury. Real hype around this guy. So, a shame to see a young, talented player pick up such a serious injury. He is going to miss the season now for Liverpool, but I'm pretty sure they'll be all right with Van Dijk coming back into the side, replacing him. Interestingly, Crystal Palace's record against Liverpool is actually much better at Anfield than it is at home. Whereas here, Liverpool have actually won 10 of the last 11 meetings at Selhurst Park. So, for me, Liverpool should obviously still be considered the favourites for this match. The way the season has gone so far, this has probably got the most obvious 2-1 to Liverpool written all over it. But I still think the way Crystal Palace have started the season, with how their unbeaten run has gone, with the fact they've already beaten Liverpool in the Community Shield, I do think this is a really good chance for Palace to end that poor run of form at home to Liverpool. And I do think Liverpool are going to need to step it up a bit if they are going to get a result here. So even though I have Liverpool as favourites, I'm actually going to go for my second 1-1 draw of the video here. Things not getting any easier to call in our next game because it is now Leeds taking on Bournemouth. Leeds won last week with a 3-1 away win to Wolves, which takes them to 7 points from their opening 5 games. Not a bad start to the season for the newly promoted side. For Bournemouth, it was a 0-0 draw with Newcastle, which means that they hang on to their Champions League places on 10 points and means they are unbeaten in the league since their opening day defeat to Liverpool. Both sides were eliminated from the League Cup in round 2, so neither of them played in midweek and have had a fresh week of recovery to get ready for this match. Doesn't mean there aren't any doubts for Leeds coming into this one, though, who could potentially be without Jayden Bogle, Daniel James and Willie Gnonto. They're all listed as doubts, but all could still make it, and there is hope that first-choice keeper Perry could return for this match as well. Bournemouth, clean bill of health, they are fresh and ready to go for this match. The last time these sides met on this ground, it was a 4-3 victory for Leeds, but that game was almost 3 years ago, so you can't really read too much into that. But with how both of these teams have started this season, it really wouldn't surprise me to see almost that many goals again. Ultimately, I do think this game could go both ways. It's just going to be a case of which team ends up scoring more in the end. And the way these teams have started, I'm going to back Bournemouth just to edge it, and I'm going to go for a 3-2 victory to the Cherries. On to what is probably our first genuinely, on paper, easy prediction to call of the week. It is Manchester City taking on Burnley. This is the final 3 o'clock kickoff of the week. Manchester City come into this game 4 games unbeaten, if you want to include the League Cup. Burnley come into this 4 games without a win, which of course includes losing at home to Cardiff in the League Cup as well. Furthermore, for Manchester City, they have won the last 13 meetings between Manchester City and Burnley. That is 13 wins in a row by an aggregate scoreline of 46-2. That is how dominant Man City have been over Burnley over the course of the last few years. Realistically, that reign of form is going to continue in this match. In terms of the team news, I have seen some reports suggesting that Erling Haaland is a doubt for this match, but I've not seen any serious concrete proof of that. So I'm still going off the assumption that Haaland is going to play. Fantasy football fans looking to triple captain him this week, just be a little bit aware of that. He is somewhere listed as a slight doubt. I do think he's going to play, though. Still no returns to the likes of Marmoush, Ain't Nouri and Ryan Cherki, though. And James Trafford could play against his former club in this one. For Burnley, no fresh concerns from last week. As I've already stated, any result other than a Manchester City win should be considered a serious shock. We all know what they can do on their day. But we do know that Burnley can prove themselves difficult to break down. Just look at that Liverpool game from a few weeks ago. I'm still going to go for a dominant City win here, though. I'm going to go for 3-0 to Manchester City. The first of two evening games on Saturday then sees Nottingham Forest taking on Sunderland. Forest remain without a win since the opening day of the season, but back-to-back away draws is a decent momentum builder coming into this game. For Sunderland, it is 3 games unbeaten for them, also with back-to-back draws, but their draw last week was against a Aston Villa side when they only had 10 men, and arguably they were still the better side in that match and could have stolen the victory with 10 men against Aston Villa. So Sunderland are coming in with decent form. To Nottingham Forest's credit, their draw away at Real Betis the other night was a really, really strong performance for them. So there is a chance that they are starting to get things back going again under Ange Postecoglou. In terms of the team news coming into this match, Douglas Luiz did go off at half-time in the game against Real Betis, so he is a doubt for this match. And there is some serious decision-making to be had regarding the striker situation, with Igor Jesus scoring 2 in midweek and is surely now pushing Chris Wood for a start in this match. For Sunderland, they are obviously going to be without Reynildo following that red card against Aston Villa at last weekend. These two last met in the Championship back in 2017, so really not a lot we can read into that head-to-head record. I do genuinely think that Sunderland have a real good chance the way they've played recently, but I do think things are starting to pick up in the right direction from a Forest perspective, and I would still expect Forest to secure a home victory here, but we shall see. I'm going for a 2-1 win to Forest. Final game on Saturday sees third place Tottenham Hotspur taking on bottom club Wolverhampton Wanderers. It's only 1 win from the last 3 for Spurs coming into this in the league after coming back from 2-0 down to draw with Brighton last week. For Wolves, though, it is sadly 5 straight league defeats, but a decent performance in the Cup over Premier League side Everton in midweek does fill them with a little bit of confidence, you would think, coming into this one. They have beaten 2 Premier League sides in the League Cup, but it hasn't reflected in actual Premier League form so far this season. In terms of the team news, there is a slight concern over Pap Sarr for Tottenham, who missed that draw with Brighton last week. No fresh concerns for Wolves coming out of the game in midweek, but there are some players who could be rotated into this match after strong performances in that midweek fixture. Interestingly, despite where they are in the table, Wolves actually have a really good record at Spurs. They are unbeaten in their last 5 meetings between the two clubs, drawing here last season and actually winning here the year before that. What I would say, though, is how poor they've been in the league. You would have to say that Spurs are going to end that run here. They're looking to carry on. They're in Champions League places. They want to continue that, and a real opportunity for them to do so against a struggling Wolves side. I'm going for a 3-1 victory to Spurs. That then takes us on to Sunday, where, speaking of 3-1s, that was the exact scoreline that Fulham beat Brentford by last week, and they're going to be travelling to Aston Villa off the back of yet another win for them in the League Cup. For Aston Villa, they finally scored their opening goal of the Premier League season against 10-man Sunderland last week. But as we've just mentioned, arguably, even with 10 men, Sunderland were the better side in that match. So it really has been a poor start in the league for Villa. That being said, they did play very, very well last night. It was only enough for a 1-0 win over Bologna in the Europa League, but Ollie Watkins did miss a penalty, compounding what has been a really, really bad start to his season. In terms of the team news coming into this, no fresh concerns for Aston Villa last night, who are expected to rotate back more of their regular first-team players into their lineup here after resting some against Bologna, although to be fair, maybe play the players that played well against Bologna in this fixture, and we might see a change in fortunes for them in the league. For Fulham, there is once again doubts over Anthony Robinson. He can't quite shake off these constant slight injuries he keeps picking up. As things stand, he's expected to play, but he is listed as a potential doubt. Villa come into this game winning the last 5 times these sides have met, and beaten them all 6 times they have met at Villa Park in consecutive fashion. So really, really strong head-to-head record for Aston Villa coming into this game. I do think Fulham have got a really, really good chance of ending that run here. But I saw signs of improvement for Aston Villa last night. They are due their first win of the season, and I do think they're going to get it here over Fulham. I'm going for a 2-1 win to Aston Villa, which brings us to the main event of the weekend, which is Newcastle taking on Arsenal, where the big question really is, what is a good result for Arsenal in this fixture? It's been the big talking point over the last week about how Mikel Arteta approached the game against Manchester City, absolutely over-celebrating a 1-1 draw against a side that realistically you need to beat if you want to be considered serious title contenders. I'm not saying Newcastle are serious title contenders, but they are regarded as one of the strongest sides in the league right now. So what will Mikel Arteta's approach be to this match? And what represents a good result for Arsenal in this match? In my opinion, anything but a victory here should be considered a failure from an Arsenal perspective. The reason I say that is because Newcastle come into this on what is genuinely a really poor run of form at the start of the season. Their last game, of course, being another 0-0 draw. They did, of course, win in midweek in the Cup, but it's been 3 consecutive 0-0 away draws for Newcastle and only 1 win at home for them so far this season. Arsenal, of course, also winning in midweek, getting some of their players back to full fitness with Saliba and Saka playing in that match. You'd expect them to continue in this fixture here. They will, though, be without Nordi Madueke. He is the latest to pick up a long-term injury. He is set to be out until Christmas. Fabian Schär is still a doubt for Newcastle, but could make his return here. Like I say, Saka is back. Ødegaard could potentially be back for Arsenal as well. What's interesting again about this fixture is that head-to-head record. The last 3 visits to St James's Park for Arsenal, they have failed to score. So it's not been great for them. The last 2 meetings in the league here have been 1-0. Newcastle also beat Arsenal 2-0 in the League Cup on their way to winning it last season as well. Honestly, the way these two sides have started the season, there is only really one scoreline that stands out for me, and I hope I'm wrong. And that is 0-0. I don't think Newcastle have enough attacking-wise to break Arsenal down at the moment. But you look at how Arsenal performed against City. You look at how Arsenal performed against Liverpool. In these big matches, they're not really going for it. And I think if they fail to do that again here, there is no other scoreline than 0-0. I hope it's an entertaining game, but I really don't think it's going to happen. So 0-0 for me stands out as the best option. And then finally, the Monday Night Football sees Everton taking on West Ham. Both sides actually coming into this off of back-to-back defeats. For Everton, they lost to Anfield in the league before losing at Wolves in midweek. For West Ham, they come into this off the back of back-to-back home defeats in the league after already being eliminated by Wolves in the previous round of the League Cup. In terms of the team news, no major concerns for either side coming into this, but Jarrad Branthwaite remains out for Everton, Wan-Bissaka remains out for West Ham, and Souček remains suspended for West Ham. Obviously, this is another game for David Moyes to come up against the club that he led to European glory, which now seems like an absolute age ago, even though it really wasn't that long ago. It's been a shocking, shocking start for West Ham. I don't think many people at all expect West Ham to get much from this match. This is surely Everton's game to lose. So I am going to end today's prediction video with a 2-0 victory to Everton. To be fair, West Ham have a relatively good head-to-head record against Everton, but I just don't think that translates into this season the way they've started it. For me, Everton will take it. And that is going to be it for today's video. As always, let me know down in the comment section what you think is going to happen in these matches. And of course, let's have a look at what you guys think is going to happen in these fixtures from the community page. Not much to split Brentford and Manchester United. Most of you think Chelsea are going to win. Most of you think Liverpool are going to win. Most of you think Bournemouth are going to win. Almost all of you think Manchester City are going to win. Surprised so many of you have gone for Forest. No surprises that most of you think Spurs are going to win. Absolutely nothing to split Villa and Fulham. 37, 31, 33 for that one. Vast majority of you think Arsenal are going to win at St James's. And nobody thinks West Ham is going to get a result at Everton, with 78% of you thinking Everton are going to win it. As always, thank you for getting involved in this video. You can head over to the community page now to vote on every single European fixture we have got for you next week. That is 18 Champions League games, 18 Europa League games, and 18 Europa Conference League matches. They're all being posted over the course of the next few days, so make sure you get involved to have your say on every match we're going to be covering next week. Let's pop my predictions back on the screen to round off today's video. A massive thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, and I will see you on Saturday lunchtime for my post-match reaction to Brentford Manchester United. I'll see you there.